Welcome back to Klepper's Corner. Today in History, the show where we look at the past and try to figure out how humanity made it this far without a giant cosmic referee blowing a whistle and yelling, "That's it, everyone off the field." And today, oh boy, today is December 7th, a date so historically packed, it's basically the Costco bulk buy pallet of human turning points. If history were a pantry, December 7th is the shelf where you accidentally put the coffee, the fireworks, the ominous legal documents, and that jar you swear is peanut butter but smells like 1973. Let's dive in. Segment 1, Cicero's last words and the death of the Roman Republic. December 7th, 43 BC, the day Marcus Tullius Cicero, the OG debate club champion of Earth, meets the business end of the Second Triumvirate's HR department. And by HR department, I mean professional assassins who believed in very aggressive performance reviews. Cicero tried to save the Republic using speeches, which, sure, is noble, but when your opponents include Mark Antony, a man powered exclusively by rage, wine, and the ancient Roman equivalent of bad Yelp reviews, it's not a fair fight. Cicero ends up fleeing, only to get caught by people he once defended in court, which is the kind of betrayal Shakespeare would have written if he wanted to make sure no one trusted lawyers ever again. His head and hands were displayed in the Forum, which means Rome invented both political commentary and the world's first cursed art installation. But his death isn't just gore, it's symbolism. It's the moment Rome says, "Republic, that's adorable. Let's try autocracy with a side of empire." And future republics, especially a certain one founded in 1776, will read Cicero's warnings with the same energy as someone scrolling through old texts from an ex thinking, maybe I should have listened. Segment 2, Delaware becomes the first state. Federalism's baby steps. Fast forward 18 centuries, December 7th, 1787. Delaware, a state smaller than the average Costco parking lot, looks at the proposed U.S. Constitution and says, you know what? We're in. And not just in, but unanimously in. 30 guys in a room all agreeing on something. That alone should be recorded as a miracle. Why so eager? Because Delaware looked at the Articles of Confederation, a system where states behaved like roommates refusing to pay rent, and said, we need adults. Also, the Great Compromise gave small states equal representation in the Senate, which is the political equivalent of giving the smallest kid on the playground his own tank. By being first, Delaware basically shaped the vibe of ratification. They didn't just join a union, they became the teacher's pet of American federalism. The state equivalent of raising your hand before the question is finished. Segment 3, the Battle of Prairie Grove, the Civil War's forgotten furnace. December 7th, 1862, Prairie Grove, Arkansas, a Civil War battle that doesn't get movies, reenactments, or PBS pledge drive specials, but absolutely deserves a seat at the table. It's a brutal slugfest where Union forces face a Confederate army trying to break into Missouri like it's Black Friday and thereafter the last flat screen. The battle ends in a bloody stalemate that is strategically a Union win because the Confederates run out of ammo, food, and apparently hope. And yes, this is also the battle where feral pigs roam the field at night, forcing soldiers to build makeshift log forts around the bodies to protect them. This is the part of the Civil War Ken Burns politely fades to sepia. By morning, the Confederates withdraw, and the Trans-Mississippi Theater shifts permanently. Prairie Grove becomes the, oh right, that happened too, chapter of the war, the one that deserves more attention and fewer polite coughs from history textbooks. Segment 4, World War I escalates, Austria-Hungary, and a naval ambush in slow motion. December 7th strikes twice in World War I history. First, 1917. America finally declares war on Austria-Hungary. Up until then, the U.S. had been fighting Germany, but giving Austria-Hungary the silent treatment, which is a weird geopolitical relationship status. Woodrow Wilson describes Austria-Hungary as a vassal of Germany, basically the world's most passive roommate, and decides you can't fight half a war. Congress votes almost unanimously to join the fight. Shout out to Meyer London, the one dissenting vote, who looked at a global war and said, I'm not convinced. Second, 1914. The British fleet shows up early, literally one day early, in the Falkland Islands. This is the opposite of every group project ever. Their punctuality prevents a German squadron from seizing the port, leading to a decisive naval battle the next day. If the British had been late, even by Victorian tea standards, global trade routes might have changed completely. December 7th, the day timeliness actually mattered. Segment 5, Pearl Harbor, the day that rewired the planet. December 7th, 1941. The attack that ends isolationism, ends illusions, and ends America's brief experiment with pretending world wars are somebody else's problem. Japan launches a surprise assault with military efficiency so precise it makes modern planners wonder whether they should cry or take notes. Battleship Row becomes an inferno. The USS Arizona becomes a tomb. And the Coast Guard, which history often shoves into the background like the world's maritime middle child, fires some of the first shots in defense. This is the moment where geopolitics mutates. Within days, there's a global war. Within years, there's a nuclear age. Within decades, there's an entire national security apparatus built on the belief that another December 7th could happen anytime. The world breaks and rebuilds itself around this date. A hinge, a fracture, a turning point you can feel rippling into the present. Segment 6, Apollo 17, humanity's last footprints on another world. December 7th, 1972. Apollo 17 launches, humanity's last crewed trip beyond low Earth orbit. This is the mission where we send not just astronauts, but a geologist, the first scientist on the moon, which feels like the cosmic equivalent of finally reading the manual before assembling the furniture. And then comes the blue marble, the photograph that turns Earth into a single glowing marble in space. No borders, no politics, just one fragile sphere floating in darkness. The environmental movement gets its favorite poster. Humanity gets its most humbling selfie. Cerdan's final words on the moon, a wish for peace and hope, land differently now. They're not just a farewell, they're a challenge, a reminder that we've walked on another world and then stepped back, unsure of what comes next. Segment 7, East Timor and Armenia, human tragedy on one shared date. December 7th is not just political shifts and battles. It's also two tragedies separated by geography but united by suffering. 1975, Indonesia invades East Timor. Thousands die in the first day alone. Over the occupation, as much as a third of the population perishes. And documents later reveal Western leaders gave a nod of approval as long as the invasion was quick. History should not have a fast food option. 1988, a magnitude 6.8 earthquake destroys the Armenian city of Spitak. Tens of thousands perish instantly. And for the first time since World War II, the Soviet Union reaches out to the United States for humanitarian aid. The Cold War pauses, just briefly, because the ground itself demanded mercy. These two events remind us that history's power isn't just in bombs and speeches. It's in the fragile fault lines under our feet, and the choices leaders make when lives are weighed against convenience. Segment 8, lethal injection and the strange grab bag of cultural milestones. December 7th, 1982. Texas performs the world's first execution by lethal injection. It's marketed as more humane, which is always a red flag when describing anything invented by a state government. Doctors protest, lawyers litigate, and witnesses argue over whether the man suffered. The debate continues today. What does a humane execution even mean? And then December 7th gives us the cultural miscellany. Bernini is born, the sculptor who makes marble look softer than my posture. Larry Bird arrives, ensuring basketball will never be the same. Chomsky shows up, so future linguistics students can have panic attacks. Tom Waits enters the world, sounding like he already drank 3 gallons of gravel. Instant replay debuts in 1963, and sports fans immediately lose the ability to accept referee decisions. The Royal Opera House opens. Hamid Karzai becomes Afghanistan's first elected president. Otto II dies. Robert Graves exits stage left. December 7th is the most eclectic historical buffet imaginable. Triumph, tragedy, empire, science, geopolitics, art, and sports. A date that refuses to specialize. In conclusion, December 7th is a kaleidoscope of human history. A day where republics fall, states rise, wars ignite, moonscapes are explored, nations suffer, and culture celebrates birthdays like it's hosting a cosmic variety show. It is a reminder that history is never just one story. It's a messy, sprawling, contradictory web of choices and consequences, all unfolding on a calendar we pretend is tidy. December 7th tells us the truth. Humanity is complicated, and every year when this date arrives, it gives us another chance to remember the patterns, the lessons, the warnings, and maybe even the hope buried between the lines.